We're joined by Deputy Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Narend Singh, just to share some of his views following the passing of the late minister. Now, Narend is not just a colleague in Parliament, but also a friend and brother, a friendship spanning more than 4 decades. Good evening, Mr. Singh. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Firstly, condolences to you and the family of Mr. Gordhan. You are friends who chose the same path of politics, albeit through different vehicles. You were with the IFB, him with the SABC and ANC. But that friendship has spanned decades. Just talk us through this brotherhood that started at school.
Well, good evening, Fundo, and good evening to your viewers. And absolutely sad day for South Africa because we've really lost a giant in the political sphere, an anti-apartheid activist and an activist for good governance and anti-corruption, even when he joined politics, post-1994. I first got to know Pravin Gordhan in 1971 when I went to university in the first year, and he had been there for about 2 or 3 years before me. And he was a student activist. He was a member of the SRC, he was even president of the Student Representative Council, and one saw in him somebody that was totally opposed to the apartheid system that was in place at that time. And over time, with the Natal Indian Congress, when he joined the Natal Indian Congress, I followed his career very, very strongly while he was a pharmacist, but he devoted a lot of his time and energy, together with other comrades, in fighting the system of apartheid. Mm-hmm. And our paths then crossed when we were at CODESA together. And as you said, albeit that we were on different political parties, and there were tensions between the two different political parties at that time. From 1994, when I first became a member of the Senate and he became a member of Parliament, I think relationships between, in particular, the ANC and the IFP grew to such an extent that there was a better understanding of how we approached the struggle against apartheid. Mm-hmm. And we had differences of opinion, but we all worked for common purpose.
Mm-hmm. Now, those who shared a bit on his professional career have reiterated much of what we've heard over the years, that he was a consummate professional, very strict, and implemented strict controls wherever he was deployed. Things had to be in a particular way. Was that the man you encountered over the years?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I served on the Portfolio Committee for Public Enterprises when he was the minister. And he didn't like criticism a lot because he worked hard and he thought he was doing the right thing, which he was. But there were a lot of forces working against him at that time. And he requested of us who were critical of the Department of Public Enterprises to understand what he was going through, which we did. And I think the state capture report completely vindicates PG in the way that he conducted himself as a Minister of Public Enterprises.
Mm-hmm. Now, among the many clips we've been playing today of the late minister is one of his exchange with former Minister Lynn Brown in Parliament. At that time, he had been sacked as minister, became an ordinary MP. He could have, of course, resigned and secured a pension at the level of a minister, but stayed on and continued with his oversight role. Did he ever share with you as a friend what motivated him at that point to stay on?
He wanted to see the end of corruption. He knew a lot was happening that should not be happening within the department, within the state-owned enterprises. And I had the pleasure of sitting next to him when he was an ordinary member of Parliament in the Public Enterprises Committee. And I remember one state-owned enterprise with its CEO and its board appearing before us. And PG was scathing in his attack and searching in his questions of the CEO. And the CEO tried to wish him away, together, unfortunately, with some members of the ruling party at that time. But Pravin Gordhan, as a member of Parliament, stood his ground. And like I said, he's been vindicated in what he had exposed.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, those specific sessions in Parliament, he seemed to be unrelenting. Anytime you had somebody from public enterprises, he was ready to go. But it's a common occurrence that the more high profile a person is, their legacy is contested. I just want to get your views on what we've seen today, because even on social media, it's littered with all kinds of views following the passing of the former minister. Of course, many celebrating his contribution to the struggle and even in government, but of course those that, among them being the economic freedom fighters who issued their statement saying there will be no tears. For them, they see him as a corrupt individual who represented exploitation to a certain extent. Your views on just what we've seen today?
Well, the taller a tree goes, the more wind you catch, and the more you become a leader of substance, the more criticism you take. But criticism, you know, for us is the everyday occurrence. We take it on the chin. PG took it on the chin, but it's very hypocritical of that very particular party to say the kind of things they are saying. Because like I've said, and I'm saying for the third time, what he exposed in state-owned enterprises was really what came out during the State Capture Commission. And I just hope, as in memory of him and in memory of his legacy, that many people who were involved in having their fingers in the cookie jar, some of whom are in Parliament now, will be in orange overalls sooner rather than later.
Mr. Singh, thank you very much for your time this evening. Condolences again to you and the family of the late minister. That's Deputy Minister of Forestry and Fisheries, as well as Environment, a long-time friend and colleague of the late Pravin Gordhan.